Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Castello Show. It is a new season, guys. We are so excited to be back with you for 2025. Couple of things to talk about because we've got a new format this season and we're really excited about it. So we'll go through that in detail today, but basically we're going to be covering the MLS more in its entirety this season and on a lot more detail. We don't want to focus on fantasy as much as we did because we felt like there's a lot of people who watch the MLS that really could give a shit about fantasy. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're covering also. And then there was a lot of stuff last season that was stuff we wanted to talk about that didn't really fit into a regular episode for us. So this season we're going to get a lot more loose. You're going to see a lot more yelling at coaches and players and just in general hating things that happen throughout the year. Now, our show has always been only on YouTube. This season, we are going to be on podcasts and audio streaming services. So, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whoever else wants to cut a check, we will put the show there. We're also going to be using social media more this season, so please follow us on Instagram. Do we have a Facebook?
No.
You guys don't even use Facebook. Just go to Instagram. Facebook sucks. We might get a Twitter. Who knows? We'll see. X, that's true. I'll get that wrong every time this season if I tell you to go look on Twitter. But we'll bring you guys more tips, snippets. We're going to talk more about betting as well, and not just fantasy, but more our picks, things like that. And there's always going to be more info on the website. So you're going to be able to see all our player picks and rankings that we always did last season. Those will be on the website now. We'll still do them on the show, but a little more abbreviated now, because we want to spend more time on other stuff. But if you're a fantasy fan, go to our website because you're going to see a lot there. And I'll actually go ahead and put the link to that in the description of this episode. So go down into the bottom of the video there. You'll find that. Now, this episode is our off-season and preseason show. So we're going to talk about what happened while we were gone. We want to go into transactions for different MLS teams and how it's going to affect this season coming up. John.
All right, so let's talk more about our new format. Like Brian said, in past seasons, we're very fantasy MLS heavy. And we'll still be discussing that, putting a lot of info on social media and the website, but we're going to spend a lot more time than we have in the past discussing game recaps, player and team info, trades and transactions, and betting. Each week, we'll get you all the info on the week's matchups, the biggest news in the MLS, and our fantasy lineups and match picks. So, let's talk about this offseason. So, Lucho and Cucho have new homes.
Big.
Yes. Today...
the 12th.
Yes, today is February 12th as we're filming. Today... Trade finalized between FC Cincinnati and FC Dallas, sending Luciano Acosta to Dallas for $5 million plus $1 million in incentives. Last week, Cucho was sold to Real Betis for over $16 million. Yeah. So, when I heard about that, I thought maybe Christian Ramirez, he's going to be the guy to grab this season, right? Yeah. When Zella left for Saudi Arabia... Right? I think Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, I believe so.
And Cucho replaced his output and then some. Yeah. So I thought, will Christian Ramirez do the same?
Yeah.
But that's not going to be the case.
Why is that?
Because Christian Ramirez is going from Columbus to the LA Galaxy.
Yep. So, I'm not really sure what Columbus's plans are this season, because you already had oh my God, Aiden Morris.
Mm-hmm.
He was gone last season.
He's gone to England.
That was a big deal. Now you have Cucho out, and I really don't. They didn't make a lot of signings. We'll go through it. But I don't see them trying to replace.
I will list the signings, and when you say they didn't try to replace them, you have no idea if you haven't looked.
Right.
They more than did not try to replace him.
We'll see what happens with Columbus. I will say this. You just won the cup. Maybe you don't think you can repeat. Maybe this is a building year.
Just like the Chiefs. We're not going to try to repeat. We're just going to rebuild.
I could understand
We'll go younger.
Now, I will be honest. I I don't see... If I am Columbus, I'm not letting Cucho go unless he is pushing to leave. Even though $16 million is a lot of money, I really feel like I would pay $16 million to have him, so I'm not going to give him up for $16 million.
I don't know who owns that team, but it's probably a billionaire.
Right, yeah. Well, and it's a big transfer for an MLS team, but it's not that big of a transfer for a Spanish team. It's really not. So, especially a striker.
Actually, I think it's like Real Betis's biggest in their history. I'm not 100% positive of that.
Real Betis sucks.
Yeah, because they're not Real Madrid.
Yeah, and we'll see what Cucho does. I mean, there is a chance he gets to Spain. He's awesome there on a shitty team, and then he gets traded up even higher. I mean, that's something
or
that could
he
happen.
Could help them actually be a top 5 team in La Liga.
Right, and I even could see...
I thought it was a very good trade or signing, sale on Real Betis's part.
Right. And I could also see something happening with, and I hope this doesn't happen because I do consider myself a Cucho fan even when he's not here, but sort of the Almiron arc, I think, really is in the cards where we see Cucho come back here in 3 years and, it's a different expectation with that.
Yeah. So I'll go over the players in for Columbus.
Okay.
They re-signed Evan Bush, goalkeeper.
Yep.
Stanislav Lapkis. He is a homegrown player, also a goalkeeper.
With a traditional Columbus name, like Stanislav Lapkis.
And Lassi Lapalainen is a midfielder free agent.
Gotcha.
And that's it.
So what? No.
So I don't know where the production comes replacing Cucho and Christian Ramirez. So Christian Ramirez, who actually did replace Cucho a good bit when Nancy liked to do all his shuffling plays around and give him rest.
Yeah. Well, and I'll say this. Nancy's done a lot of things that I thought should not work out.
I agree.
And they won the MLS Cup. So, I've been wrong before with this guy. He does... Oh, wait, they didn't.
They lost.
They lost the MLS Cup. So, never mind.
But they got there.
I don't see it all anymore.
They got there.
But they did get there, and I didn't think they would, honestly. I thought throughout the season they felt like they didn't look like a final team.
I truly believe that he thinks he can take high school players and win the MLS. Like, he thinks he's the smartest man in the history of soccer. Like, I really think he believes that. I think he is an excellent coach.
Yes.
I think he knows way more about soccer than you and I do.
Yeah.
I'm not under that false pretense that I know more than him. I know I don't. But I think his ego's getting a little big now.
Yeah, well, and I think there is something to... I want to make this play that no one ever saw coming work out. And it's like, or you could just keep Cucho up top and keep winning games forever. Like, you don't have to...
And
you don't have to reinvent
this might not
the wheel
be...
here.
Nazi might have nothing to do with any... He might have no input.
True. Well, and I imagine when your boss comes down and says, we're selling him for $16 million, there's not a lot you can...
Probably not.
You can't say, no. Tell them to take $16 million.
So now that you have $16 million more, do I get a raise?
Right, I mean, that's a question. Or who are we bringing in now?
Great. That would be my first question.
We have $16 million. So
great, $16 million. Who are we getting?
Yeah.
Who are we getting for $12 million? And I get $1 million and you get $3 million.
Yeah.
That is not what happened.
No.
Well, he might have asked it.
Yeah.
But they didn't tell him anybody. So, like you said, Nazi's proven us wrong before, but I don't think so this time. I really don't.
Yeah, well, and speaking of the other half of this headline that we put in that we barely even talked about, Lucho out as well on his way to Dallas. Thoughts?
So I have historically not liked Dallas. And I don't just mean I didn't think they were good. I actually just did not like them.
As people? As a team.
As a team, that's better. Yeah, as people, that's a little harsh.
Individuals, but as a unit, they suck.
Yeah, so no, I didn't like them. I was not a fan. I would root against them.
Yes.
But additionally, I also did not think they were very good.
Right.
And I would bet against them.
Yes.
And I feel like I was pretty successful in that. And I did really like as a fan and as an analyst, as a bettor, whatever, Musa. I think
Yes.
Peter Musa is great, and I really thought that he was super underutilized. Now, if they utilize him and they add Lucho to that, I mean, look out. And I thought Ferreira was way overrated, and he's gone. He is gone, along with
Paul Arriola.
and Omar Gonzalez.
Yep.
So they took all of the rejects from the U.S. men's national team, and they got rid of all of them at once.
Yep.
Which I think was fantastic.
No, I like it. Well, and you sign a couple people as well. Abubakar, Shaq Moore, Leo Chu. And a lot of homegrown players that we don't really know anything.
Abubakar and Leo Chu, love Shaq Moore.
Yeah.
And that's going to help your offense, too.
Yeah.
Now Lucho's got somebody else from the defense. He doesn't play in the same way as Orejano at all. But someone from the defense that is definitely going to have some attacking mindset.
Yeah, well, and I'll also say I'm curious to see what Lucho's role in this Dallas team is going to be. Because, I mean, we've grown to know him as this kind of free-roaming 10, and he's very good at that, and I think that's his best position.
And he drops. He'll be an 8, truly. I mean, he's really...
But I also think that maybe having Acosta and Musa's not your typical out-and-out 9. I mean, he's a goal poacher, but he can move the ball, he can pop up wide and stuff. So I think you really might see some good link-up play from them. I think you could see a lot of looks from Lucho that you just weren't seeing in Cincinnati because he kind of had to be a one-man show. He had Orejano, but he was the offense. When Lucho wasn't on the field...
It was a nightmare.
Yeah, they couldn't put anything together. Everything had to run through him. I agree,
and so I don't know how they could get rid of him for money. And not anywhere near the money that Columbus got for Cucho. I feel like Cucho was amazing, but I felt like Lucho was way more important to that team.
I agree. Well, and I will say this. When you have a player like Luciano Acosta, I don't really think you can entertain offers from within the MLS because you're just going to get so much more sending him overseas, and you don't have to play against him.
Yeah, and people thought that he might go to Argentina or something like that.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen. I really don't know why. I mean, I didn't do that much research into everything.
Right.
But I like Dallas this season. As a bettor and as a fan, actually.
Yeah, no, I don't
always a Lucho fan, and I like Peter Musa, and I think they're going to be really fun to watch.
Yeah. Now, we'll see. They may find a way to screw this up. They certainly have in the past. When they signed Peter Musa, we saw that would be a turning point.
Yeah, I mean, he could be a sub like every other game last season and not utilize him, and then he comes in the 70th minute and scores a goal to tie the game up but not win it because you only gave him 20 minutes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there's a lot of other players in and out. Obviously, January transfer window gets really hectic, so we're just going to go kind of team by team. We're not going to cover every single transfer, but we just want to...
Or every single team.
Right.
Just the most interesting.
There's a few we want to highlight. So, obviously, Atlanta, big news out of Atlanta. You've got Miguel Almiron coming back home from Newcastle. Like I said, expectations they're higher now because we had the Almiron honeymoon phase. Then he went to Newcastle, and he kind of disappeared.
Yeah.
Now...
That was disappointing.
You would think him being there so long and not really doing that much would make you nervous about him coming back. Honestly, I think we're going to see an Almiron that we've never seen before.
Well, I think he definitely learned from there. I mean, you're playing in a different country, at a higher level, with better players around him. You've got to be learning.
And And
he's older, in a good way, not in a bad way.
Right.
He's not old. He's older and more experienced.
I think coming back from that pace of play of the Premier League and all that stuff, I think there's just going to be a new confidence to an already very confident player. I mean, Almiron is a flashy skills and flicks guy. Now double it, as far as I can tell. I think he's really going to go out there and try to make a statement every game.
Yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
Tiare re-signed.
Mm-hmm.
He was pretty good towards the back half of the season.
Yeah. No.
Click.
Those two, I mean, those are the big ones. Tiare and Click. I'm really curious to see how Almiron and Click can set up Tiare, or how Tiare's false runs can set up Almiron.
Not only that, Emmanuel Ladelath from Middlesbrough. There was a lot of money. That's supposed to be huge.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's supposed to be bigger than Almiron, but I think it's supposed to be. So
now I have also heard, because I've heard I don't know. I wish I had the exact transfer number in front of me. I don't know exactly what the number was, but I've heard from some of my sources that Atlanta felt like they overpaid for him. Now they also were competing with other big.
Right. If that's the guy they wanted, though, sometimes you overpay for the guy you want.
Well, and the fact that they're trying to beat out other Premier League teams to get this guy makes me think there's really something to it.
Right.
So Atlanta really is a scary lineup. Now, players out from Atlanta, Dax McCarty is really the
Thank
only
God.
one. He's the only one I'm going to bring up. And here's the thing.
The MLS loves him, and I don't get it.
I have hated Dax McCarty. I mean, I feel like my entire life. I feel like the entire time.
Well, he has been playing for your entire life.
Right. I feel like the whole time I've watched the MLS, I've hated Dax McCarty. And for really no reason other than his name is Dax, and I don't like him.
Okay, so
it's about all I
will agree with that. Dax is not my favorite name.
Yeah.
When you watch him play, though, he argues a lot. He's kind of a douche on the field.
That's
he really
true.
is. And he's definitely into the dark arts and all that kind of stuff to win, because he's not very physically imposing.
Right. Now, I will say, with all that said, I am going to miss hating Dax McCarty a little bit. There is going to be a part of me that turns on the TV and is like, now I have no one to hate.
Well, that's not true.
Yeah, no, there's always someone else.
There's always someone to hate.
We would like to say a formal goodbye to Dax McCarty. Thank you for your service to the MLS.
Yeah, and Tyler Wolff, wasn't he homegrown?
Tyler Wolff was homegrown.
I never like to see a homegrown player leave.
To RSL, the land of the Mormons. We'll see how he does there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players there, so it could be a good thing.
Yes, well, and he has some big shoes to fill at RSL, and we'll get to that later on. Now, Austin FC had quite a January, starting actually December 31st with Ilie Sanchez picked up on a free agency, followed by Brendan Vasquez on the 6th from Monterrey, Nicola, some guy from Instituto.
I don't know any of those other three guys.
Not important, the other guy. But then, down at the bottom, Murto Izuni on the 24th. Now, this is a player that a lot of people are not going to be familiar with because Granada was in La Liga 2 last year. So, most people are just not, they don't know that league. But, it is important to keep in mind, Granada won Liga 2, and Izuni was top goal scorer in Liga 2. They are in the La Liga now because of this guy.
Right.
This could be a flop, but this could be a huge hit on a player that was really on nobody's radar. I am imagining a pretty low fantasy budget start for Izuni, which makes me I'm going to be looking at him in the first few weeks to see what that production is, because I think he's a player that you can get a bargain on in fantasy, and also with money lines if you're someone who bets first to score, goal scorers this game, whatever. I think odds are going to be against him when they shouldn't be to start.
Right.
Now, with that said, part of the reason they got so active is because there was a big loss with Sebastian Druisi to River Plate. I don't really have much to say on this. I mean,
I don't even know. There wasn't other guys that I have picked on that team, really.
Yeah, and
there's a lot of games that I let him, because he was disappointing a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
But his good weeks were exceptional. And if those are the weeks you picked him, you hit big. But if you picked him every week, you lost a lot.
Well, and I'll tell you what, and it's, I mean, to a degree, like, you need the money in from Druisi to start making all these signings.
Right.
Know? But I think you put Druisi next to Ilie, and then you put Brandon Vasquez and Murto Izuni up in front of those two. I think you have a very different Austin team. I think you have a lot less letdown Druisi.
Yeah, but they might not have the money without.
No,
for those guys without.
Sure, they did it. Also, Giassi Zardes bought out of his contract, which.
Well, they're clearly trying to go younger, except for Ilya.
Right. Well, and I like
don't know
Ilya
if he's
because
my age or.
You start getting rid of all these old guys. You do need someone around who's an old, calming.
Yeah.
You need a Roy Kent. You do. It's important. And so I think Ilya can be that.
I bet he curses less.
Probably. No, and his accent is much funnier than Roy Kent's. Charlotte. Not a lot of moves from Charlotte, but big ones. So, Pepe L returns from loan. They sent him to Greece. Greece sent him right back. He's here. Eric Williamson traded from the Timbers. Eric Williamson, I'm really excited about.
I like him.
If you guys remember last season, I imagine, what do you think? 25 to 50% of weeks we played him, I would say, in our lineups fantasy-wise. I truly think it's...
I definitely didn't 50. Maybe 25 for me. I don't know. I picked because towards the end, I like Portland a lot more.
Yeah.
Than in the first half. So.
I think Williamson might have been in 33% of my lineups. I loved him. I thought he was great. And he can be a goal-scoring threat. He can get back and defend. He does what the team needs him to do.
I think he'll be their 6.
Yeah.
With them loving their center backs, I think he'll be their 6.
Yeah, and we'll see.
And I think that would be good.
I think that would give Pep a little bit more room up there. I think Westwood maybe a little more room to move around. I'm curious to see how this frees up other players who I think have had to shoulder a lot of defensive burden.
Yeah.
They'll really be able to get forward more to get service for
Zaha!
Wilfred motherfucking Zaha, ladies and gentlemen. From Galatasaray on loan. I want to be honest. There is a part of me that is really freaking out about this because I have not seen Wilfred Zaha play in a few seasons.
Right.
And I love Zaha at Crystal Palace. I thought he was awesome. I thought he was underrated, and people liked him. It's not like people thought Zaha was shitty, and I still thought he was underrated. This may not be the same Zaha from Crystal Palace 5 years ago.
Probably not. I mean, he's older.
We're gonna have to see. In a bad way. Yes. We're gonna have to see. What I am really excited about, though, is I think Zaha, with the combination of all these other guys, is going to bring a new look to Charlotte. I think as the season got towards the end, there was a very get the ball wide, get the ball to the corner, cross the ball.
It was awful.
Their
attack was
stale.
Stagnant.
Yes. No, just
non-existent. It was disgusting. When we went to that Orlando,
yeah,
that was the worst game I've ever seen. Like,
no,
there was no. I mean, truly, there was no attempt at offense. Not they couldn't do anything; they didn't want to do anything.
Right.
They played a mid-block and literally never moved from there until Orlando finally got it behind. They ran to the goal and Orlando scored. It was awful.
But I think Zaha really could be the key to adding some spontaneity up there, getting you some different looks. Also, on the way out, Jalen Lindsey.
He was not liked. After the coaching change, he was done.
Yeah.
I mean, that was it. I think he got on the field once all season. Truly.
I remember.
Yeah. And he's from Charlotte. He's from Union County.
Yep.
And that kind of sucked.
Yeah.
I didn't like that.
No,
and maybe he wasn't good enough. But I will say that I thought there were other players defensively that weren't good enough either. So
yeah, no, honestly,
I don't know really why.
If you were to make me choose between Lindsey and Byrne, that's a toss-up to me. I don't think Byrne's significantly better than Lindsey.
I don't either.
Other outs that are relevant, Karol Swiderski.
And that sucks.
Yes. No,
I think Charlotte fans love Swiderski. I mean, really.
Yeah. No, Karol.
And his role also, when he came back, his role also changed.
Yeah. And
he
honestly,
was not the guy.
I will say this. Karol, first run Karol, I loved. Second run Karol, it felt like getting back with a girl that you really shouldn't be back with. It was like this isn't working the way we thought it used to,
Yeah.
and it felt like just all the problems.
We were both lonely, but we have history.
Right. And it sucks to see, but I think probably better for Carol and Charlotte moving forward. And then the last one I want to talk about was Euronin.
I was surprised about that one.
I was as well. Now, I don't think he's irreplaceable. It's not like, he's Orjano. I think he was a very skilled left back. I think he did do a lot to
I
get...
actually like him better than any of their other wingbacks or fullbacks,
Yes.
however they play.
Now, coming up this summer, they let, 4 defenders left the roster. I would be shocked to not see a wingback signed in the summer from Charlotte, because I think now you have
Well, they
Malanga.
still got Byrne, and they still have Tim Ream.
Right.
Who are the guys? That's who they like.
That's
so
your
it's a backup they're
4,
signing.
but don't forget, Tim Ream can't play every game. Byrne, I don't know if he can play every game, but you're gonna need a wingback, especially if you're gonna play.
You
the
would think, but
attacking
they could have
wingback,
young
get up their
guys
style.
that are coming up and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, and I don't know about all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
Chicago Fire. You want to run this one off?
I'm not interested in this.
Okay. Really, the only big one I saw was Jack Elliott in. I don't think it's going to make a difference.
Nope.
But
I don't
Jack
either.
Elliott leaving Philly, I thought was worth bringing up.
Yes.
And-
I agree with that, and he was a big player for them and everything, but I don't think he changes your team.
No, and I think he will toil in obscurity in Chicago. I think it's not going to make a difference. I think things are going to continue to get worse.
Look at how many people are gone. All of their good players.
Yeah. Now, I will say, we're looking at... Hold on here. So, losing Navarro, Jimenez,
Chichos, Herbert,
Yep, those two.
Lassiter.
There's a lot out here.
And I think this is a reset for them.
Yes. But these guys you're bringing in, even though I don't know them, Zinkernagel, Club Bruges, Sam Rogers, Lillestrøm.
Yeah, you got Sporting.
Sporting, Celta de Vigo. These are real teams.
Yes.
I am curious to see...
Right, these could be good young players.
Right.
And they're... yes.
I don't...
But it's not exciting.
No. Certainly not excited.
Yeah.
But I am interested to see what happens. But by week 2, you could hear me saying they're all bust. I don't know.
Yeah.
Cincinnati. Do we really want to get into? We talked about the big
we
one.
talked about them. The Kip Keller's one that we liked.
Yep.
And didn't really get his fair shake until everyone got hurt. Other than that, Giacchini.
Yeah.
On
his way out.
Ian Murphy. Those are some of their bigger players. What's funny is Barreal has finally listed his players out.
Right.
Which is hilarious.
One that I do want to bring up, and he has been playing, he's been on loan, but Orellano officially purchased from Vasco da Gama, so no threat of him being sent back to Brazil. He is officially...
yeah, and they see him as their future.
They don't really have a mascot. I was going to say he's officially blank, but an orange.
He's officially an FC.
Right. He's a lion. I don't know. Whatever the fuck that thing is on their logo. Colorado Rapids. So, I got to be honest, not a whole lot coming in that I was super excited about. They do sign Sam Bassett, homegrown, brother of Cole Bassett.
Yeah, if he's
it is
as good as his brother, that'll be something.
It's the first pair of brothers to be signed as homegrown in Colorado Rapids history. Actually, not the first in the league, if you remember the Union.
Yep.
Last season with the 14-year-old.
Yeah, I know. With the Eminem dyed hair.
Yeah. We talked about it earlier, and we didn't know his name then, and neither of us looked it up in the meantime. But, you know him. The only 14-year-old that's ever played in the league.
And his brother's a starter.
Right.
Like, he plays regularly. And
But yeah, them. Now, players out at Colorado. Navarro, gone. Other than that, really none of this scares me, leaving.
No, but I thought it was a good team. I don't think they had to do a whole lot.
Right. No, and I think a lot of this is recycling bench and reserve players more than it is people looking to make a difference in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Columbus, we already talked a lot about them. Really no reason to get into that.
Dallas as well.
We talked a lot about already. DC United. So we did already mention that they're losing Klitsch, but there's a lot of players leaving. We're looking at, hold on here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 players leaving the DC United roster. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 joining the roster.
And they're not coming from impressive places. There's a lot from within the MLS.
Yep.
And then the Super Draft. Then there's someone from Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors.
That's my favorite.
Didn't know that was a team.
Yes. I imagine that's Korean.
And then, yes, obviously. They do the same thing with baseball, actually.
Really?
Yes, I know that because of COVID. And the first sport in the world to come back was Korean baseball. Huh. Yes, so at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would watch Korean baseball because there was no other sports on TV. Seriously. Right. In the spring of 2020, when everybody else shut down, Korean baseball was the first one to come back up. And it was teams like Nissan and, well, that's Japan, but like Hyundai Motors and stuff like that.
We're good.
Yeah, the gist. But heart of Midlothian, what is that, Scotland or is that Ireland?
I believe it's Scotland. I'm pretty sure it's Scotland.
So not really, and Radomayak Radom. I don't know if that's Russian or if that's some Far Eastern European or Asian team. I don't even know what that is. So I am curious about how bad they really could be this season.
Yeah, well, and hey, maybe these are sleepers. But I gotta be honest, I don't think they are. I think this is gonna be a rough season.
Yeah.
Houston, we kind of already covered a lot at Houston. Junior Urso signed as a free agent off of Charlotte.
From Charlotte.
Missed out.
Jack McGlynn, that's a big one.
Jack McGlynn as well. What's really shocking with Houston is the out list.
Woo!
I'm gonna run through these kind of quick. McKenzie Gaines out of contract. Hector Herrera option declined on the re-sign.
I don't get Hector Herrera gone. I know he's older. He was huge
for
their team last season.
Here's the thing. I don't know how long that option is for, but I can't imagine it was more than a 2-year option. I would like Hector Herrera for 2 more years. Even if I don't think he's going to play at all the second year, I'll get him a coach's shirt and he can sit there. He's just a guy you want in your locker room. I think he's a culture guy. I think he's smarter than a lot of midfielders. I really think he sees things other players can't.
Oh, yeah.
Moving on down, Moreno, option declined. Brad Smith, option declined. Steve Clark, option declined.
One of the best keepers in the league last season.
Yeah, Sebastian Ferreira, mutual contract termination. And then Kieran Sargent, who's not really relevant as a player, but I do want to bring him up because he's Josh Sargent's brother, and he's on loan to Lexington, and he seems quite bitter about it. When I go on social media, every post is him in a Houston jersey, like, I'll be back. So, we'll see what happens there.
That's not where I'd go back. I'd go...
Yeah, you'd want to be gone. But I don't know that he's super happy with the loan. I don't remember him playing much last year.
No. And Carrasquilla was a transfer. He wasn't an option declined, but I thought that was another big player as well. So.
No, that was big.
They weren't very good, and they got rid of a lot of their best players, so that's...
Yeah, and I imagine what's happening here is they're banking up some money. They're not sure which direction they want to go. They got Jack McGlynn in. That's something. And then
And he's young.
Let's start the season. Let's see where the damage is.
And build around him.
Summer. But we'll see what happens there. I think it's going to be a slow start, but I think as the season goes on, there's going to be pickups, and that could get better fast over there. Because there has to be money in the tank with all these players out.
You would think.
Also, a lot of these players out, keep in mind, are option declined. They're not transfers out.
Right. They're not getting any money for him. They're just not paying for him anymore.
Right. Now, you're freeing up space. You're not bringing in. Next up, LAFC. Really, Yaya Boa, I wanted to bring up. Odin Thiago Holm, on loan from Celtic coming in. I don't know that much about him. I really haven't watched Celtic a lot.
No, but it's a perennial Champions League team.
Yeah, and I'd like to consider us Celtic fans, despite the fact that we never watched them play ever.
I actually do watch Old Firm.
I will watch when they're in the Champions League. Those games I'll watch, because I can already watch Champions League.
Did you know they lost today?
I did. Also, Abobase in as a free agent.
I like that.
I do too. I'm a little curious to see kind of where he's going to fit into this. Now, players out is where we're going to start seeing where he fits into this, because you lose a lot of players here. Bogusz gone to Cruz Azul.
We loved Bogusz last season.
Also, Campos as well to Cruz Azul, which, not that he is relevant, but the fact that it's 2 transfers there is...
Interesting.
Vela, option declined. Ilya Sanchez out of contract. We already talked about him popping up in Austin. Murillo, option declined. Kai Kamara, option declined.
Kamara, he's my age, so...
Yeah, I mean, he's one that I expected his option to get declined. 100%. But I'll also say he was really productive for someone
He was. And they were in a million different tournaments, so they needed other players to give other guys rest. So when he came up and did what he was supposed to in most games.
You get rid of Vela, you get rid of all these other guys suddenly
that are as old as Kamara.
Right, you really can't put the burden on Kamara. You got to go younger now. And it looks like that's sort of their plan. Abobase in to kind of fill the gap. I wouldn't be shocked to see another striker sign there as we get towards the summer as well. Just kind of help Bouanga take on that workload.
Yeah, but I mean, Bouanga plays every game. You know?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think Bouanga will be the out-and-out striker.
Yeah.
And Abobase will be the backup. But I think there's going to be one more big forward signing.
Probably. It's
somewhere.
LAFC.
And Bogusz, even though Bogusz is listed in midfield, we saw him at right wing a lot. We saw him check in at striker sometimes.
Which is why he was a very good value fantasy-wise.
Right, and we saw Bouanga get moved out to the wing, Bogusz up into the 9 role, and then sort of this, almost a false 9 dropping in, creating runs for Bouanga across. So I think we're going to see a really different look from LAFC this season. I don't think it's going to be the same play style you're used to. LA Galaxy. Christian Ramirez in from the Crew. We already talked about. I think that's a big signing.
Joveljic out, though.
Joveljic out, and within league, Joveljic to Kansas City. Also, Jalen Neal to Montreal, Brugman to Nashville, Mark Delgado to LAFC, Caceres, I don't remember how to say his name. He's the only player that they didn't get a trade or a player for. He's the only one who's just straight up declined on his option.
How do you like Yoshida re-signed?
Yoshida re-signed is big to me.
I think that's very big as well.
Some people are going to say he's old, and I disagree. I think Yoshida is experienced.
Don't mind an old center back.
No, I don't. Chiellini was $1 million when LAFC took him.
Except for Tim Ream.
Yeah. No, I don't love Tim Ream. Now, I will say this. Chiellini, he was one of those guys that I kind of would have used as an example of old center backs are great, and then he really didn't pan out for LAFC the way we thought he would. He felt like he only played 10 games, and then all of a sudden he was done.
Well, I think he played more in his first season with them, and then it dwindled the longer he was there.
Yeah, but Yoshida, he's already a tried and true piece of this team.
He's great, man.
He's established. I think he has the respect of that.
And fantasy-wise, he's great.
Yeah,
they get clean sheets. He gets attacking points.
Yep.
So,
moving down to Inter Miami.
Boo.
Yeah, well, and a lot of movement in Miami, and I can't seem to give a shit. I don't care, because Campana out to the Revolution, I don't think hurts them. I think Campana was a big deal in that lineup, but I think you have so much talent.
Yeah. He played when all the old men that were really good were hurt.
Right. Now,
or when they had to go and play for their national teams.
Right.
Then Campana came in.
And to be honest, all you really got to do is be a warm body. So yeah, you lose Campana and Rodriguez, but they pick up Fafa Picalt and Tadeo Allende, who from Celta Vigo. I don't know either of those two guys. I'm sure they'll be fine.
I love Pico. He's from Vancouver.
Oh, I do know him.
Yeah, he played when Brian White was out, or sometimes they played together.
You're right. Now, I will say this. I still don't... I mean, I like him as a free agent signing. I wouldn't be spending money on him, but as a free agent, sure, I don't think it's a bad pick. I think
here's the thing. I don't know how much he'll play with the rest of this team, but when he plays around this team, he could be very productive.
Yeah. Well, and that my point was, I think 10-year-olds would be productive. I don't think you really need to be.
But man, they play a lot of national team games. They're in every tournament. They qualify for every tournament. I mean, you need guys, and they get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, it just a rotation. I like Pico going there, and I'm sure he likes going there and getting to play next to Messi and all the other Barcelona players.
For sure.
How do you like Kritsov gone? Do you remember who that is?
I do.
Yes.
And I'm glad
that is the gray-haired boy.
I'm curious where he'll pop up because I don't see him just being gone. I don't know if he'll stay in the MLS or what'll happen with him. But he's really annoying to play against. And as much as I don't like playing against him, he is the kind of guy that you would like. He was
so slow, and that Charlotte couldn't do anything against him.
Well, but you know what? He is slow, but he does know that. And he, even when he gets beat, he just fouls you. Yeah. And you can't ever... It seems like you should be scoring 1 million goals on that side, and you just can't. And it wasn't just Charlotte who couldn't break him. I think he'll be picked up somewhere. I don't think he's going to be like a marquee signing or anything, but we'll see him again, I believe. Minnesota United. Kip Keller on a re-entry. Will Trapp re-signed. Rest of these players I don't really know. Nicholas Romero, I feel that I know the name, but I don't know Atletico Tucumán. I don't know anything about him.
I think he's just got a generic name.
Yeah, probably. Owen Jean transferred from Amiens SC, and then Ho Yeon Jung transferred from Gwangju, which I don't know anything about. I just really wanted to say Gwangju. I thought that would be fun. Players out, though. Here's where it's going to get a little tricky for them, and I think this is another team that we're going to have to see kind of fill some holes in the summer. Tapias out.
Big one.
Huge one. Patrick Weah out. Not as big of a deal as Tapias, but...
Pookie, who should be a big deal, but isn't. He didn't do much when he played. He didn't play that much. I mean, I felt Longwani was better, and at the end of the season, who was that scored all those goals? They had another guy. I'm going to have to look this up.
Oh.
He was fantastic.
Yes.
I mean, he was scoring 2 goals a game.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Once you say his name, I'm going to know.
Yeah, you go on to the next thing. I'm going to look this up.
Next team, while he's looking that up, so Montreal with a lot of players out, so I'm just going to kind of rapid fire them real quick, and then we'll talk about kind of the key ones. The big ones really being Josef Martinez gone, Kokoro gone, and then there was one other one. Maybe not. Okay, so Josef and Kokoro. Here's why it's big. Those were 2 of, I felt, the most underrated goal scorers in the MLS. Honestly, I really felt like those 2 guys, at any week, they could have a hat trick. It could come out of nowhere. I don't fully know how they're going to try and fill this hole, because they did sign a homegrown player in Owen Graham Roach. Don't know anything about him. He's a homegrown guy. We'll see. They did sign Vrioni from the Revolution. That could be a good fit. It could really not work out. We'll have to see there. And then Prince Owosu on a free transfer as well. So a lot of strikers in, but just really not the firepower.
A lot of attacking players, period. And there's a lot of names. I mean, I don't know how well they'll do, but there's definitely a lot of names.
Yeah, no, and it's Montreal.
And maybe together.
Yes, and Montreal once again falls into sort of the same place I felt they were last season, which is this like kind of sneaky attacking dark horse. They'll beat you 4-3 on the road. You know, I think they're going to score a lot. I don't know exactly who is going to take up that mantle. We'll see which of these new guys. I would imagine it's going to be Vrioni. He's got the most MLS experience.
You still got a Wusu and Herbert that, I think can as well. And maybe it's together.
Right, maybe it's a mixture. There is no hero. Nashville. Hold on. Oh, you got the guy? Oluwase, that is right.
Yes, Tani.
I did love Tani. Now.
Yeah, I can't believe we couldn't remember that. He was fantastic. I mean, really.
Nashville, I'm going to be honest, I don't really care. I mean, Shaq Moore out. That's.
I think that's very big, actually.
That is big.
And I really am not impressed with a lot that's come in.
No.
Again, there's guys we never heard of. I mean, that's kind of what's funny about soccer compared to other sports.
Well, and it seems that you're getting a lot of, you've got Next Pro in Maximus Eck, Matthew Corcoran. I'm going to go with Corcoran. From
probably
Birmingham.
Corcoran.
Yeah, that's probably right. Birmingham Legion, though. I mean, it's younger, moving up guys,
right.
So we'll see. These could be guys that are ready, and we just don't know about it.
But Godoy, McNaughton, Shaq Moore. I mean, there's some of their better players.
Yeah. No, well, and I think...
And McNaughton, I think, is someone who's very underrated.
I agree with that. Moving down, New England Revolution, Nacho Heel out.
So we are just going to do every team.
Yeah, pretty much. Nacho Heel out is big. Vrioni, we already talked about. Badrak Terovic is big, out. These are all people leaving.
How did Carlos feel about his boy Nacho going?
Yeah, well, I'm really curious what that conversation is. Because, you're professionals.
Yeah.
But, so...
We think you're really good. But...
I don't see them making decisions based on that they're siblings and they want to play together. But
they got rid of a lot of older players, though. I mean, if you look... But all names. I mean...
McNamara, Parker, Bobby Wood, gone.
Tim Parker,
Earl Edwards Jr., Emmanuel Boateng. I mean, there's just a lot happening here.
Kay, Romney, Earl Edwards.
Yeah.
I mean...
No, and we'll see what happens here, because they've signed a lot, but again, it's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, and they were terrible with all those old guys, so getting younger probably isn't so bad.
For sure. NYCFC, I literally don't care about. I have nothing to say other than...
James Sands, gone.
Yeah,
that's a big one.
But I don't...
Maxi Morales in. That's about it.
Yeah. Red Bulls. So, out Van Zier, which I believe we already talked about a little bit, and then Tolkien out.
That's a big one.
Well, and I'll say this, because Tolkien out sounds huge to me, but honestly, as the season got later and later, I felt Tolkien's involvement was not what I had grown to expect of him.
No, but they had other players taking up some of his roles.
That's true.
But I don't think he ever did a bad job. I don't think he ever had any issues.
No.
Tim Parker in, though. That's interesting. He's been moving around a lot.
Yeah. That scares me a little.
But if you look, I mean, their biggest names are still there.
Yeah. No, and I think
they just needed to stay the course.
They're looking to add on to an already very good lineup here. I think it's going to be...
They could be the best team in the East. With Cincinnati and Columbus, well, at least us thinking they're going to take a dip. Yeah. Maybe the rest of the world doesn't.
I'd put them...
I think Red Bull is perhaps the top team in the East.
We'll get into that. Orlando... Not really anything huge coming in. I mean, there's some next.
So there's another potential top team in the East.
You do have Atuesta coming in from Palmeiras. Atuesta is a player we've seen before. He's kind of been back and forth between the MLS and Liga MX. I don't know what to expect of him. This could be great. This could be shitty. Who knows?
You see who their biggest out is?
It is a big one. Facundo Torres.
Very big.
And I just want to say, if Charlotte can't beat them now, with no Facundo Torres, I don't care how good Atuesta is in. Facundo Torres was really difficult to stop, and it almost made me okay with losing to Orlando.
Well,
now I'm fucking not.
I was never okay with that.
Not okay with it, but I understood it. I felt like we were a little outmatched. I don't fucking feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
This is a game that Charlotte can win. I think this is a game
Absolutely.
Red Bulls can win. I think this is a beatable team with no Torres. I feel like he was really the spark for them. And even though they were both transfers and there's money attached to it, Fagundo goes to Palmeiras. Atuesta comes in from Palmeiras, so I don't know if they expect Atuesta to fill that role directly. I don't know if they expect him to sort of play as a team filling that role with someone else they've brought in.
Yeah, no, I don't think he's as good. And if he was as good, Palmeiras wouldn't have wanted to make that move.
And we don't know the money on this deal.
No, and so unfortunately a lot of these teams are more concerned with the money than the output on the field. And I don't know what the contract with Apple TV is, but I mean, it could be a whole revenue sharing type thing like the NFL and Major League Baseball. So
Union, Alejandro Bedoya re-signed. That's really all I got for this one. Jack Elliott
out. Adinaran out.
Yeah, Jack McGlynn out. We already talked about those, though.
Yeah. Portland.
So
Lassiter in.
Lassiter is interesting to me.
I think so, too, actually.
Portland is a team that I always felt like was just missing something. Like they were almost a top team.
Well, they were missing defense.
Yeah, and consistency, and I always could count on the Timbers to score, but I never felt like they had those.
Evander was in my lineup every week.
Yeah.
He was the fantasy MVP last season.
Absolutely. And I think giving him Lassiter now
is
kind
nice.
of will make up for what you lose with Williamson and then some, because I don't think...
Williamson's not... he doesn't play. Lassiter is an out-and-out forward.
Right. But I don't think that Evander needs a partner. I think he needs someone in front of him. He needs someone to be able to get the ball to when he's in pressure. Because I don't think Evander back to Williamson, the ball's just coming right back to Evander, and now he's in the situation again. I think playing off of Lassiter, they could be even more attacking.
They still have Anthony.
True. Who was already great.
So, and they had Mora. So.
Yeah. But I think this team is even more dangerous.
I think they're better. I don't know how good this Ian Smith kid is from the Super Draft. And I don't know how good this other defender, Forey, is. From Columbia, but they definitely need more defense. So.
Yeah, well, and I'm curious about João Ortiz, too. Is he more of a drop back midfield? Like, is he playing a 6? Is he playing a 9 or an 8 rather? I don't know what
to make up for Williamson.
Right, because if you get another 6 who's maybe not as well known as Williamson now, but he's got that quality.
They need to bolster the actual back line. So
right. Now, RSL, Chicho Arango out. Not just out, but traded to the Earthquakes. I don't understand. Here's the thing. If I had Chicho Arango, I would never trade him to someone in the MLS.
He did get hurt a few times last season.
I don't give a shit. I don't want him playing against me.
Well,
I want him to go to another country.
Here's the thing, too. He's in the same conference.
Right.
He's in the West.
I would even be okay with sending him to New York or something. That would make more sense to me.
You see that a lot in other American sports. They go to the National League. They go to the NFC.
Yeah. RSL to San Jose just feels like a crazy move from RSL.
I will tell you, when San Jose plays RSL, I am starting Chicho.
Yes. No, strongly agree there. Honestly, other than that, there's a lot of movement.
Yes, but nothing earth-shattering.
Rubio Rabin doesn't get his option picked up. I get it. Honestly, I don't know that I would have felt the need to re-sign him either. Tyler Wolff in. We already talked about that coming in from Atlanta.
Junqua in.
But overall, I think we're going to get... This season for RSL is going to be about can they replace Arango. I think that's the battle here. Can you get that many goals? And you pick up Elias Manuel, pick up this Ajago guy out of the re-entry draft. You pick up Tyler Wolff. So a lot of young talent. really not.
A lot of these teams seem like they're very confident in this young talent. I don't.
Yeah, well,
and I find it odd when teams like Cincinnati and Columbus, I mean, the top, are taking a clear step back. Right. It seems like an opportunity. Now is our chance.
Yeah. No, well, it's something that you don't see of. You never see Arsenal sell off all their best guys and start new.
No, but that's a different league with a different format.
Right, but you're Columbus, a team with a really long history in the MLS. You're Cincinnati, who doesn't have a long history in the MLS, but you're a dominant force in the MLS.
Well, and they were big in what were they, USL before? Right. And they were big there too. I mean, they had fans in numbers of MLS teams in the USL.
Right. But you're looking to create this sort of Big Six entrenched in always in the title race feeling. And I think no one in the MLS really has that right now, and that's what teams are striving for.
Yeah, I mean, and you'd think it'd be Columbus, Cincinnati, LAFC, LA Galaxy, Seattle. Yeah. I mean, that would probably be it could be Red Bull.
I think Red Bull could be it. I think Philly used to. I don't know.
Philly and New England, but they're not what they
now.
Yeah, they seem like they're in a reset.
No, they're in their Man U era as far as the Big Six is concerned.
Tottenham.
San Diego FC. Obviously, new team. Yeah, everyone's new. So, we don't know a lot about this. I don't know a lot of guys on this team. Chucky Lozano, we do know him.
Yeah. Hamady Diop.
Hamady Diop
from Charlotte.
So we'll see. I hope he does well there, honestly. I hope he plays. I liked him. Emmanuel Boateng from New England. But there's a lot of gray areas here. Luca De La Torre from Celta de Vigo could be great, could be terrible. I don't know.
They're an expansion team. I mean, you look at Charlotte. What's so funny is you say you look at Charlotte, but you look at a lot of the other expansion teams when they came in, they were very successful very quickly. New York City,
right?
Nashville,
well, and
LAFC,
New York City, David Villa. LAFC, who was there? Was it Carlos Vela? Was he the big name on that first team?
And wasn't Orango there?
Orango as well. Orlando, Kaká.
I remember that.
Every team had
someone.
Right, that was like earth-shattering. Because it all...
Well, Nashville didn't.
No, they didn't. Mukhtar became that, but he wasn't. He wasn't the same level as those guys.
No, he's not Kaká.
But what... I think this all started from that Beckham Galaxy. Holy shit, the MLS is on the map now, and that's what it takes to put a new team on the map, is to make some signing just like David Beckham. And by the time Charlotte joined the league, that went away. People didn't think you needed that anymore. Christian Fuchs was the marquee signing.
What about Inter Miami?
Sure. Now, Inter Miami...
So then it came back. So you just have to be in a real city.
I count Inter Miami a little bit differently because it wasn't just one. It was the whole of fucking 2008 Barcelona. And it was so much more insane than signing Beckham that I don't even consider it the same move. What they basically said is, hey, Suarez, Busquets, Messi...
It wasn't even Suarez right away.
Right. But Messi, Busquets...
And then they added Suarez. When you're like, clearly we're at the salary cap by now.
Right. But you get all these
that's
guys
not how this league works.
together, and you're like...
There's a cap, but there's not really a cap.
Right.
It's like baseball.
It felt like a high school reunion more than it felt like a hot new signing for a new team.
Probably like their 20th high school reunion.
Right. But I imagine that first Miami game had a lot of people wearing Barcelona jerseys. And I imagine that still
the first
happened.
one? Still. All you see is white and Carolina blue stripes in the crowd. Yeah.
But yeah, we're excited to see what San Diego does.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest, I'm
gonna be honest, I'm not excited. I really don't even give a shit at all, but you could say we're excited.
Yeah.
I'll be on your side.
I'm excited. Here's why I'm excited, because it's gonna be an even number now.
Well, yeah. But it was kind of good to have the buys, to be honest, as far as from a fantasy perspective.
I kind of would like. I think it would be fun to have this team of people I don't even know, headed up by Chucky Lozano, to suddenly go off. That would be nice to see. I don't think they will either.
I'm not confident in that either.
No. San Jose, I mean, we already talked about the big ones. Chicho Arango in. Josef Martinez in as a free agent since he didn't re-up with Vancouver, so no transfer fee there.
I actually like Earl Edwards, too.
Earl Edwards
Although
Jr.
he's, again, going to be a backup, and I think he's good enough to be a starter in the MLS.
Yeah. Now, you're losing Ochoa to Cruz Azul. You are losing Yarborough.
You will.
Yeah, Abobase out. We already talked about
Yeah, that's
one
that's interesting.
It is big.
But I think they're replacing him between Arango and Martinez.
Yes.
And at any point, either or both of them could be hurt. But as long as one of them is not, I think I think they're both better than Abobase.
Yeah. I think this is going to be a better San Jose team than we saw last season.
Yes. I kind of like that, actually.
Yes. No, me too. Seattle, I don't have a ton. Raul Ruidiaz not re-signing a contract. He's out.
And I like him better than Jesus Ferreira, who
yes.
they chose to replace him. So I think that's a downgrade.
And I think it puts a lot of pressure on Ferreira coming off a Dallas season where I felt like he got a lot of praise, but I also felt like he underperformed. I really do. I felt like there were weeks where he went off, and then there would be weeks and weeks of nothing.
Nothing.
So we'll see. He's got big shoes to fill, but I think Seattle...
I will say their best re-signing is Rusnak, though.
Yes.
He was huge for them last season.
Rusnak's huge, and I think bringing in Paul Arriola from Dallas is also big. I think him and Ferreira coming at the same time.
If they got Omar Gonzalez, they would have got all of the U.S. men's national team rejects. So.
But I think those two being together is going to help with that transition. I really do. Seattle sucks, especially if you lived in Dallas. It's very rainy, very sad, a lot of needles. It's a tough place to move to. I think...
A lot of homeless.
Well, the homeless and the needles go
I guess they go hand in hand.
A lot of human shit in front of Whole Foods. It's just a problem out there.
Did I tell you about when we were eating outside at a restaurant in Seattle, and there was like one row of tables and then like a little fence.
Yeah.
Really the fence you thought was for decoration, not needed.
Yes.
But then the people from the table next to us, they got up and they left. They'd finished their meals. And then a homeless guy came and just picked it up and just started eating it right there on the sidewalk next to. And I was like, and no one in the restaurant did anything.
Do you know, I'd rather him do that than ask while they were still sitting if he could have something.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
No one was going to eat that.
So, I feel bad for that guy. I feel bad for homeless people. I think we should have better systems to help them. I've talked about that a lot, not on the show, and I won't anymore. But when I go to a restaurant, I kind of don't want that to happen next to me. And maybe that sounds posh.
I agree. Now, I will also say, I know people who are completely not homeless at all that I have watched.
Oh, you have friends that would do that.
I have watched comedians. Like, literally, a basket of wings is going back to the kitchen to be thrown away. And they're like, whoa, can we get... I've seen that a lot. So,
Sporting.
Next team. Yes.
KC. Joveljic. Big signing. And without all those guys around him to take away from his production.
Yeah, I think we're going to see him really become a star.
Yep.
And not that he wasn't. But
I think that is a great replacement for Pulido because Pulido might have been the biggest disappointment in the MLS last season.
Yeah, and we'll see what he does in Guadalajara. I would like to see Pulido successful. As much as I don't care about Liga MX, and I hope they somehow all come in 20th in their own league. I do want Pulido to score goals
there. Aren't
there.
20 teams in...
Oh my God, how many teams do they have down there?
They don't have 20.
It's
much less.
I don't even have 20. I mean, they have a minor league.
Yeah, but in the top division, I mean. Standings. 18.
Well, that's not much less than 20.
I actually thought it was like 16, so.
All right.
I guess we split the difference.
Well, I hope they all come in 18th. But I hope he does well. I really do like Pulido. I was really disappointed to see him not do well last season. He was a player that I felt like was starting to come into his own and then just kind of died.
Well, he was hurt, but still, he was a huge disappointment.
I just felt like he never found his spot in the lineup again.
Well, Willie Agata really became the guy.
Yeah.
So,
other notables: Fontes out, Tim Melia out.
Yeah, they got a lot of rid of age.
Johnny Russell
got rid of a lot of age.
Castellanos out.
Yeah.
So a lot going on there. Other than Joveljic, I mean, none of these signings are really crazy.
Nothing exciting.
3 homegrown players, so we'll see. Toronto, I mean...
Did you skip St. Louis on purpose?
Oh, no, I didn't.
So, St. Louis...
Yeah, honestly, I could have skipped St. Louis.
A team that completely underperformed last season. Like a huge letdown from the previous season. I mean, there you go. There's another new team.
Yeah.
Right? Expansion team. And they came in first place in the regular season in the West.
Yep.
So it's everybody but Charlotte. Then, the next season, which was last season, they shit the bed. I mean, they did not back that up in any way. They were terrible, at least record-wise.
We saw letdowns from a lot of individual guys, too. Klaus, where did he go? What happened? It just kept happening with, I think this guy's going to be good. St. Louis, I picked them a lot for clean sheets, was let down. I don't understand how they...
But look at this offseason.
I don't understand how they're not making more moves. 2 players in, Timo Baumgartl.
That I've never heard of.
And Conrad Wallem.
From Slavia Prague, which we know, but I've never heard of that guy.
Right.
And I watched a lot of their games, and I never heard any of these guys. No. So it was just kind of where status quo for a team that underperformed is really...
It's just dangerous. Because here's the thing.
Confusing is the word I was looking for.
Yeah, but I also, and this is important, when you try to stay level, everyone else is trying to get better, and you are now getting worse.
Oh, yeah, but I don't know that that's the case for the MLS this year. I feel like there's a lot of teams getting younger.
Yeah, and after this, we're almost done here, and we're actually...
Yes, we're on the letter T now.
Yeah, well, that's almost it, though. There's only 2 more teams.
Yeah.
Toronto. So...
Also didn't do a lot, besides getting rid of Owusu, who I really thought...
Could have earned another option.
I like him better than the Italians, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah,
He's not a cancer, so...
Well, and
so that's a good thing.
We'll see what happens here. I mean...
How Bernardeschi made the All-Star game is...
Oh, it's travesty.
Mind-boggling for me.
I do, and we didn't really have... At the point that all that was really happening, we weren't doing the show at that point anymore. For those of you who don't know, we took a break from the show because I had no money. And we do need money to do other things. So if we really put a halt on this. But... I remember watching that MLS game and thinking, thank God Dad was rant about Bernardeschi won't be on the internet because it will come up 20 years later.
I hate him so much. He's so overrated.
And if
he is a cancer, and I will talk about that no matter the sport.
Yeah.
That's the worst thing you can have on a team, and he is a cancer. He just spreads this negativity and this... I mean, I don't know how many coaches he's going to get fired, and yet he never does. And that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, well, and it's never like, and now it's fixed. Like, if every single season you're blaming someone else.
Right.
It is you.
Maybe it's you. And look at, okay, I didn't score, and then I got a red card to put my team a man down, and I'm not back next game, and then I come back, and then I don't score. And you know what? Hell, let's have another red card. Like, bananas.
Vancouver, to wrap it up. We already talked about who's out from Vancouver.
Yeah, Pico. And actually, Ryan Raposo. So he's someone who nobody talks about. And he didn't play that much for them, so I'm really not surprised he's out. I really feel like someone should pick him up, and he could be a good player.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much factual evidence I have to go on. But when I actually saw him play, he looked like he could play, and yet he didn't really play that much. Stuart Armstrong also. He was supposed to be a big signing.
Yeah.
During the mid-season window last season, and he didn't really ever get on the field very much.
No. Well, and by the way, sent to Sheffield Wednesday on transfer. I mean, by no means some garbage team. I mean,
no, and he came from someone in England too.
Yeah, I mean, Sheffield's a club, so we wish him well. Now we are going to do more in-depth predictions next week. We'll really get into MLS Cup picks, conference picks, all that stuff. But I just want to kind of do a general overview to wrap it up since we've covered a lot. Based on these transfers, who are you looking at to do well this season? Give me your, let's say, top three.
Are we splitting East-West, or are we just saying overall?
You know what? Let's split East-West. East, who do you
East.
like? Forget a number now. Just who do you like in the East?
Red Bull. Atlanta. Do I like anybody besides them? Oh, obviously Miami. Duh. Those are probably my top three in the East. What about you?
Gotcha. So I say Miami.
Those weren't in any specific order. Although,
right,
they could be.
I would say I
think Miami will have a lot of injuries.
Yeah,
they're going to play a lot of other tournaments, and I think they will not reach what they think they're going to reach for all those other reasons.
Yeah,
and this is not a team with a lot of players that play in playoffs very often. Now, Champions League is
right,
but.
No, well, in Miami, they had this air of, well, obviously we're going to win.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit overconfidence.
I think this year we will not see that out of them. I think Messi just went, oh, shit, these are still real games.
Oh, I think they should be embarrassed. They should absolutely be embarrassed.
And
have something to prove now.
I think as we get later in the season, Miami's really going to turn it on. I think they have to be your favorite in the East. I just don't see who... on paper, who you could confidently say is better than that team.
Right. But who do you think is almost as good? Or
I'd put Atlanta there. I really like Almiron back. I think he's going to be great. I expect to see big things from Atlanta. I think Charlotte is my three. I really do. I think that Charlotte should have beat Orlando. They gave up that penalty.
So I think that last season, they had an enormous opportunity and blew it.
Yes.
1, 2, and 3 were all out. They were the 5 having to beat the 4 against a not very impressive 4.
No.
And they shit the bed. And they would have had home field advantage through the rest of the East.
Yep.
Which would have been also a big thing. And they shit the bed. And I will not pick them again until I actually see something. Because I have grown up as a Jets fan and a Mets fan and an Islanders fan and a Johnny's fan. And as much as some of those teams are doing well right now, they've had so many more years of letdown where they were supposed to be good and shit the bed, and now I feel like I can lump Charlotte in with that.
Yeah, well, and we'll see, because I truly felt like...
I like the Zaha signing. I really, really do.
I felt like the Zaha signing...
I think they think Pep Biel is a lot better than he is.
I do as well.
I think he's a big reason that they lost both of the games to Orlando. The regular season one that we went to, and then the one to knock them out of the playoffs.
I think it's part of it. I think he was
a big part of it.
Create the way he was supposed to. Now we'll see.
Yeah, now it's Swiderski out of his way. Let's see. I think that was a big excuse for them. So
well, and hey, he's got Zaha to play off of, and he never had that before. And
Swiderski's not Zaha.
Here's what the Zaha signing means to me, because it's not just we have Zaha. Zaha's the best player that's ever played in Charlotte. It's also we are not fucking around. We are signing Wilfred Zaha. We are trying to win. We are not. We came in 4th,
and when they actually try to have an attacking
5th,
team,
rather,
I'll believe that more.
Right, and I think.
So where are you on the Red Bull?
Red Bull's 4 to me. I put them under Charlotte. I don't dislike Red Bull. I think Charlotte, if they perform the way they should, beats Red Bull if they perform the way they should. Now, that's a big fucking if for Charlotte.
Yeah.
And
maybe they'll sign Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how that goes.
We don't know, though. But I personally, I go Miami, Atlanta, Charlotte. And that, I think a lot of that is because I'm a fan,
Right.
and I don't care. I'm still happy to say.
Yeah.
At least for now, because they haven't played yet, so I don't look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Once games start, this might rapidly change. West.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
You can start it.
So West, I like LA and LA.
Yep.
I like Colorado a lot. They didn't make a lot of moves, and I don't know that they needed to make a lot of moves. They were already young, and they were young and good.
Yes.
So I like Colorado.
Well, and I'll say this of Colorado. I'm curious to see where they make the change, right? Because what I always felt about Colorado is they were gamers. They could score late. No game was ever over when you were playing in their stadium because you're in fucking Colorado. It's really high up. You're tired of shit, and they don't stop. They're shooting in the 95th. They don't stop. But I also felt like Colorado really was missing something. There was something that just, when they faced the LAFCs and the LA Galaxies of the world, they felt
But also
flat.
it could just be another season of playing together, another season of those guys getting 1 year older, one more year of professional experience.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not. But I will say, I don't know that LAFC is as good as they were last season. I still think they're one of the best teams in the West.
Yeah.
But I think they lost more than they gained.
Yeah.
LA Galaxy, I think they're as good as they were last season, which was great. So, could Colorado win? Possibly. I also like Portland and San Jose.
I do like Portland.
I like the West better than I like the East.
I do as well. And I think, once again, the West is better. I mean, I feel that we always kind of run into this where it's like the West has a lot of firepower and the East has Columbus. Now they don't have Columbus.
Right,
now
Columbus
they have
or Cincy.
Right, so now you've subbed in.
And now maybe Atlantic's coming back to the...
So the East, I feel like there's always two real powerhouses and then a couple that, it's anybody's game. The West, it's stronger throughout, but also when the West is bad, it's so bad. The worst teams in the West, I have always felt, are far worse, unless we're talking about the New England Revolution.
Well, I think San Diego's going to be really bad, but they're new.
Yeah. Well, and here, I will also say...
I don't know who else is going to be terrible in the West.
I think deserving a shout-out in the West as a real possible team. Houston, but not even what I was going to say. I was going to say Austin.
I was going to say Austin. I think it's a terrible year for Texas soccer, which... Does anyone in Texas actually care?
Probably not. I mean, Austin, yeah, because there's such a blue hair, whatever Europe does, we like city, that...
Yeah, but that's also where the University of Texas is.
Right, but
I feel like they care much more about the Longhorns than they do about...
Yeah, but whatever Joe Rogan goes to watch,
football
suddenly
and
everyone
basketball
in Austin likes now. The second Joe Rogan goes to a soccer game...
Is he gonna, though?
He has, I think.
Has he? Does he sit with Matthew McConaughey?
Yeah, I believe he did.
Of course he did.
I'm not positive on that. He's definitely sat with Matthew McConaughey at some Texas sporting event. Now, whether it's Austin
By
FC
the way,
or
Matthew McConaughey goes to more Texas Longhorn games than Austin FC.
I'm sure he's been to Austin, though. He has to have.
He's an owner.
Hold on, he's definitely been.
Yeah.
He has to have. Fair enough. I don't care who owns the team. That's not my concern.
Do you care that Tepper owns Charlotte FC? Because I do.
I hate Tepper, but that's my concern is the players right now. That's what I'm covering.
Yeah.
And also, I love Matthew McConaughey. I think he's great. I hope good things happen for Austin. And please invite me and give me box seats. But yeah, I think Elias Sanchez is a big deal. I think Uzuni, I'm telling you, I think Uzuni is a player that no one knows that's going to make an impact immediately. Even if it's La Liga 2, to be a leading goal scorer in a professional league is serious. That requires a consistency that I just feel Austin hasn't had the whole time. It's what we said about Geraci. He's
supposed to be, and he wasn't consistent. That was the one thing he wasn't.
He was great when
he also got hurt.
Yes, and that's not his fault. But I think Uzuni...
Well, you don't know it's not his fault, but...
Maybe.
I mean, you don't know what kind of preparation and...
Right.
Their work ethic and how they work out and prepare their bodies.
I think Izuni is a player alongside Brandon Vasquez with Sanchez behind and the experience Sanchez brings. He's won MLS Cups. He knows what that looks like. I just think Austin can be really dangerous. Now, I could also see them totally flopping. Of the teams I like, they're the one I'm the least confident in. But I think they have an outside chance to really shock people. But other than that, guys, that is it for this week. John, anything else you want to add?
No, I didn't think we were going to go over every single team.
No, and I didn't plan on it. But
hopefully
I gotta be
you
honest.
tuned in for the entirety of the 3-hour show.
No, it wasn't 3 hours.
No,
we did
it was
an
about
hour,
an hour and 15.
Hour
like
12. Here's why. Because I was not going to cover every team, but as I kept going down, there was like one guy.
There usually is. No, there's something interesting. For me, it was just brevity and not so long. But no.
You guys don't have anything to fucking do today.
If everybody's really into the MLS and really what happened, I actually think we did cover it.
Hey, watch it in 2 sittings.
Answer all there. We should have a little pause now in the middle. This is a good
intermission.
time to pause. Get a drink. Come back tomorrow.
Well, guys, we will be back next week. Week 1, fantasy predictions, all that stuff. So get excited. Check out the website. Follow us on Instagram. Possibly X coming soon. I don't know. But definitely get on the website and check that out because there's going to be articles coming out every week starting week 1. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon.